Looking at the platforms as we are at the moment is one thing, and they are obviously very, very effective. But isn't the key point about what you put on the platforms, the content? Isn't that the key thing that people really need to put their focus on?
Absolutely. It's very easy to start up with a platform. We could be on Twitter, we could start a new Twitter account in about 15 minutes. We could do the same for Facebook, we can take something with our iPhone and punch it up to YouTube and we're online. Is that meaningful? So what's got to be behind, I think, all of this is a very clear idea of what content that's actually driving your communications. What do you want to say? What's the dialogue all about? For example, when you and I talk, we'll talk about what our families are doing, what we might be doing the weekend, even what we might be having for lunch and where we're having lunch. Really, for an organisation, that's of little relevance, and people don't want to hear that. What they want to hear about is what you can do for them. So I think your content needs to be about three things. The first thing I think it needs to be about is who your audience is, and you need to have tapped into their needs. A good place, here's a little tip, a good place to start that is to have a look at the email chain of correspondence that people are sending to you about their concerns and their problems, and the phone calls that are coming into your call centre and to your operators, etc., the letters that are being written to your minister. That'll give you a quick idea about what people are interested in.
So the questions that people are asking.
Questions, yes. That'll give you an idea of their interests and their concerns. And then what information, what body of knowledge do we have that can meet those? So that's one body of content. The other body of content is tell a story about who you're helping. No one's interested in your CEO. Few people are interested in your secretary, perhaps your minister. They're interested in someone like them that's benefited from your services or that's impacted, and it is helping them. The third part of your content, of course, is tell people what you do, but not in a cold, distant way. Tell it with passion, tell it with enthusiasm, and tell it with commitment. In other words, just be human. No, organisations are like people. None of us gets it right 100% of the time, 100% of the content. When none of us are bulletproof, we are going to fail. The more human you can be in this particular forum, across these platforms, the more authentic, the better you'll come across.
So what is your simple advice to people who are now wrestling with all of this change? Technology is driving massive disruption in the industry. People are uncertain. We're seeing the challenges of traditional media. We're seeing the growth and inexorable rise of the new platforms. What are the simple steps that people can take today to start to move to building a much more effective presence and much more effective outcomes for their organisations in this new world?
I think there are three things you can do. First of all, let's purely recognise that things are changing. The things we did 5 years ago, the things we did 10 years ago may be still valid, but they've morphed into a different form. So things are changing, and the communicator needs to be constantly aware, have that antenna out there about what the changes, the trends are. And it's most important we communicators do that, because people are looking to us for advice on how to get their information out to others. First of all, recognise that there is change. I think the change is seismic. Don't know where it's going to end, but it's significant. The next one is just jump in. At some point, you just got to start. The longer you put it off, the harder it's going to get. And there's no excuses to say, we don't understand this stuff. Which brings me to my third point. Tap into the tremendous wealth of free, and I stress free, information, tools, techniques, tips, which are on the web and which are available from our own fellow communicators, whether they're here in Canberra, other Aussie communicators or around the world. People are willing to, because everything is so new, people are willing to share information at this stage. So there'd be my three tips.
You're obviously very optimistic about the future, and it really is an exciting time for the communications industry.
I reckon it's an exciting time for the industry and for people like me personally. Now, for example, if we have had this conversation, say, 10 years ago, I, as a communication professional, would have settled into a nice pattern, a nice routine. I will pitch the media, I'll put out a media release, I'll do some brochures, and I suggest we stage an event. Okay.
Creative.
And if the world of social media hadn't have come along, that's what we'd all be doing. What now? We have a brand new series of platforms, not only platforms, but different ways of thinking. For the first time, we can connect with people on the same communication grid, irrespective of time, distance, resources, or place. It's an exciting time to be a communicator.
Well, Bob Crawshaw, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to Content Group TV. It is an exciting time for everyone involved in communication, and I look forward to inviting you back to talk a little bit more about the changes.
Thank you very much, David.